Welcome to the Digital Nomads Podcast. We're here to give you the latest insights on everything digital from inside the agency.
So today we're going to talk about search ranking factors.
Yes.
We have got SEMrush's report, the ranking factor report, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're going to break down some of the key ranking factors, both on page, off page, and the overall statistics of what they're recommending.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of data in this thing.
Yeah, it was
Good report.
It was a whole monster of a report.
Yeah, it was
so much to digest, but yeah, super insightful.
So let's go through it. We'll go through some of the key things bit by bit, talk about what they are, how important they are, the weighting behind them.
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously not the truth to it, but this is as close to being that they've got a lot of data at their expense so that they can kind of analyze things on scale and understand what it means and what's working and what they're seeing is working and kind of put that correlation together.
Yeah.
Give some recommendations of what to do for your own website. Cool. Do you want to start?
Yeah. First thing I think it was actually interesting is that it's interesting how the Google algorithm leak came out and then this was released a couple of weeks later. It's cool to see, obviously SEMrush, they've got, like you said, they've got so much data. It's correlates with the Google algorithm leak. So we discussed that in another podcast. So it's super interesting. But
nice.
First one, so I believe it's scored out of 1.
Right.
If I'm incorrect. Is it out of 1?
It's weighting.
It's weighting out of...
It's got weighting,
out of 1.
Yeah.
So we'll start from the highest and just go down. Yeah. So text relevance was the highest.
Yeah.
So 0.47 out of 1.
Yep.
Obviously text relevance meaning making sure the content is relevant to the search query, as we've ramped on about previously in other podcasts.
I think this is where Google comes in as well, and they talk about that, talking about content being key, right?
Yeah.
Content's king.
Queen.
Whatever you want to call it. That is always going to be that front and center, and that is what text relevancy is. So it wasn't a surprise to see text relevancy at the top. Relevant copy, relevant information stated on a website about the right information that you're trying to rank for makes sense.
Yeah.
So highly relevant content will do really, really well. And being so high up, being number 1 on the ranking factor, it shows that it's going to be one of the key things that they're going to look at.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you can just do that and ignore all of the other ranking factors.
No.
You have to consider every ranking factor that we're going to go through in this list, and there is a lot.
Yeah, seems.
But it is the first point that Google is going to come along, it's going to crawl your website, it's going to crawl your new page, and it's going to have to understand what it's about, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Once it understands what it's about, it's then going to start looking at
technical stuff.
Some more stuff. So what do we got second on the list?
So next up is URLs organic traffic, which was scored 0.33.
This is interesting.
Tell me about it. What is it?
So that's measuring the organic traffic to the individual URL itself, which is obviously not going to have any URL traffic when it starts. So this is something that will compound and grow. This from our insight, call it an expert insight here, this is why pages do so well over time. Because over time, it generates more URL organic traffic. So from day 1, you have 0 organic URL traffic because it's a brand new page. Based on then the text relevancy and the rest of your domain signals, not your URL signals, the domain signals as a collective is what's going to impact the ranking for this page.
Yeah.
However, the organic URL traffic will be something that will grow over time, meaning that your page's signal and ranking signals will get better over time.
Yeah.
Hence why you will only continue to improve in rankings, and the longer that you have your page, the likelihood that it will increase is also beneficial. And it will happen because you'll start ranking for key terms, and as you continue to rank for key terms, you then improve the likelihood that you'll rank for more.
It's interesting how the URL organic traffic is ranked above domain organic traffic.
Yeah.
Because you can't get URL traffic without strong domain signals, like you just said?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think there would be some form of formula behind that. If you had a really high domain traffic and the URL ranking traffic itself had no weight, I think it would then hinder the text relevancy aspect or the ranking keywords that you're trying to rank for. So it needs to look at the individualized content more than it looks at the domain content.
Yeah.
But the domain is what brings the credibility into the content.
Yeah.
So that's why the URL is present so highly in this ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. Next up, speaking of domain, is
Domain traffic.
domain's organic traffic.
There you go. So this is
goes hand in hand.
Yeah, this is where the authority comes in. So when you have a website that has authority, naturally it's going to have traffic.
Yeah.
And this may be its own branded traffic. So if you've got a credible business with self-branded traffic, then you're going to have organic traffic as well by domain standards. So this is where businesses that are credible or have been around for a long period of time will have the competitive edge in this space.
Yeah.
But yeah, domain traffic is your authority. It's something that as you build this up, it becomes easier to then generate rankings for new content as you put it out there.
Yeah. Awesome.
What do we got next?
Next up, URLs organic positions in the top 20.
So
This
back
one's
to
interesting.
this is very similar back to the organic URL traffic as well.
Yeah.
It measures top 20 rankings for a particular page and how many keywords it has within the top 20 ranking. Again, this is something that grows over time. So when you go live with a brand new page, if you nail that text relevancy and you can get the full semantic cluster of keywords for a particular term, I'm going to reword that. If you can write content around a particular subject matter and ensure that you incorporate all of the relevant terms to that primary, you will rank for more keywords.
Yeah.
I rephrased it because it was quite technical. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
So by creating a more relevant piece of content around the subject matter, you'll rank for more keywords, subsequently
More traffic.
more traffic, which is increasing your URL organic traffic and increases the amount in the top 20,
Yeah.
which means that you'll do better.
It all makes sense.
It's very straightforward.
It is, yeah.
It's complicated, but yet straightforward in the same breath. Like this all makes sense when you go through this. So
it's basically not writing content for one keyword.
no, it's not keyword stuffing.
You're not keyword stuffing.
Yeah,
Because that's manipulating.
correct.
But it always goes back to text relevancy, which I love. It all just like it flows together, and
It does.
love it. That's why I love SEO. Next up, domain occurrences of star ratings.
Yep.
So this, from what we've read, I believe is the schema review markup you see in the SERP. So when you Google something, I'm sure we've all seen there's the main title and then some URLs have the star rating underneath. Google loves it.
Yeah. So this is a total occurrence of schema star rating and how often it shows up.
Yeah.
So if you have one page with the star rating marked up on one page, you have a single occurrence. If you have 100 pages and they all get the markup, because not everyone by default gets the markup, even if you give Google all the signals to do so, it may choose not to do it. So
Google picks and chooses.
It does, picks and chooses. So as long as all the signals line up and you get the domain occurrence, that is a domain occurrence rating.
Yeah.
So the more of those, the better.
Yeah. Is there a way for a business owner or a website owner to have a look at how many star ratings
Are being shown?
are being shown on a
Yeah,
website?
you can do that through Ahrefs or SEM will show you that in SERP features.
Yeah.
So SERP features or schema features, generally they call it SERP features.
Yeah.
And it will show you domain occurrence star rating. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about if Google chooses not to show your star rating? Do you have any hot tips for
generally it's not going to show it if there is lack of proof. So if you're if you do the schema markup, but you haven't got any kind of representation of it on your page, generally that's where it will fall short. So ensuring that you have the right markup on the page from a technical SEO standpoint, which is your schema markup, but also being able to back it from a visual user experience on page, showing reviews, showing stars, showing rating and sourcing and where they come from, will generally get you across the line.
Yeah. Actually, that's interesting because I did notice, I think we saw like a year ago, a lot of businesses, you can manually put in the number of 5-star reviews.
For sure. Yeah. It's just code.
But it's just code. But recently I've seen that not many, like they're not being marked up anymore.
No.
Google's, onto that.
Yeah. It understands how many reviews you have across multiple sources anyway.
Yeah.
So when it sees these anomalies for large quantities of reviews without kind of being able to cite it or show reference to it, this is where it can somewhat be flagged of where Google will go, that doesn't really align.
Yeah.
So I won't show it because I can't see where that's come from.
Yeah.
So
Google needs
without going into the nitty gritties of it and the how-tos, that's generally, if it's not true, Google is pretty good at picking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Google finds out everything.
Yeah.
Next up is domain authority score, which is key.
Yep.
This is domain authority score is how strong, basically your domain strength, which is developed by off-page signals, so links from external websites.
Yep.
So typically the higher authority, the more authority your website has, the better you will rank. So which we've seen across all our client accounts. And authority builds over time. You can't just necessarily smash your website with a bunch of backlinks and hope that you'll get, a 50 domain authority overnight. It's something that's developed over time.
Yeah, this metric is, so being that this is a SEMrush report, this is their SEMrush DR metric.
Yeah.
And it is their own, not Google's. Google, I'm sure, has their own as well. We know Google has their own now.
They do, yeah.
But yeah, there's correlation to the higher your DR, the more likely you are to rank.
Yeah.
And DR is an accumulation of different signals that is aggregated into one single metric. And as that improves, subsequently, you have a higher chance of ranking.
Yeah.
So it's not something to focus on as an individual metric, because if you're focused on a campaign holistically, that metric will increase anyway.
Exactly.
That's the best way I've ever said it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Literally.
Yep. Moving on.
Moving on. Next up is domains organic positions in top 20.
Yeah, so that's similar to the URL one.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, but looking at the site as a collective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's authority building again.
Yeah, topical authority building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So having an understanding of if you have a website that has one page and you're ranking, again, to give you these analogies or examples, single page ranking for 10 keywords in the top 10, and then that one URL's also only got 10 ranking keywords in the top 20 or top 10, versus if I have 10 pages and each of those pages can get 10 keywords in the top 10, then as a collective, I have over 100 in that top 20 threshold, which is going to be better for me long term.
Yeah.
This does lean on where more content is better. And
the right content.
But as long as it's the right content.
Yeah.
So this is very much in line with ensuring that you improve and continue to grow your content library on your website.
Yeah.
This speaks to that.
Yeah.
Having a 6-page website now with and not building any more content into it is now something that isn't recommended.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could have had a single page and rank it in a really strong position, but now you do need to ensure that you've got a vast amount of content for content relevancy and topical relevancy for your site, and to be able to build that out.
Yeah.
Is a ranking signal.
Yeah. Speaks to the
ranking
site radius that we spoke about in the Google algorithm leak. It shows Google who you are, what you do. So Google has a better understanding of that, and then ranks you accordingly. So definitely key. This one's interesting.
Yep.
I really liked this one. We just spoke about this earlier. Domain occurrences in images.
Yeah, so we believe the reference to this is the citing of the URL within an image, which makes sense for things like infographics.
Yeah.
That's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah.
So being able to create a custom infographic and then having your URL listed within the infographic.
It seems like such a simple thing, but something so simple to forget to do.
Yeah, I think leaning towards it's being able to create graphics that are unique or create an imagery that's unique to yourself.
Brand building.
It is, and it shows that you're not plagiarizing or duplicating content.
Yeah.
You're creating your own digital asset.
Yeah.
So,
And another thing you found just before was because this is a SEMrush document.
Yeah.
We went through the SEMrush blog.
yes,
All of their images
have their URL.
have their domain in it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. It's also great for if you get share or, digital PR from it. If somebody's going to come along and, take your image and lift it and share it on their website, which is fine as long as they're going to source you for it.
yeah.
Unless you don't want to. You also get that credibility that comes through with it as well when somebody is looking at that article with your image, that your image is branded to your business and they can see the source of where it came from. So that also makes sense.
I wonder if someone, if someone's took the SEMrush image with their URL in it, put it on their website, would Google crawl that blog or page with the image and reference, would it pick up SEMrush's URL?
Yeah, it won't.
I wonder what signal that would send.
It knows the source of all images, so it knows where they come from and the original, kind of the original instance of an image of where it is. So it's not necessarily giving you a linking signal.
No.
But it is showing that the image is not your own.
Yeah.
So yeah, just lifting and shifting an image and putting it on your website, if it doesn't have a URL in it, doesn't mean that it's going to be unique.
No.
They know the original source for the image of when it was first crawled and shown, and it has that's the image lookup library.
Yeah.
Image search.
Yeah.
You put an image into image search within Google and you can see every instance of that image.
Yeah.
That's the same idea.
That's why you shouldn't use stock photos.
Stock photos are bad for it.
Yeah.
Because you can have an image that could be used 10,000 times.
Yeah.
And then you're using that same image. So yeah, unique imagery, which I believe is probably referenced in this.
Sure it is.
I'm sure that you'll see something around imagery or image count. But yeah, unique imagery is important.
Yeah.
Having your own images is a benefit.
Awesome. So next up,
What
what have I got?
Notes.
URL occurrence of star ratings. So similar to domain, if your URL's marked up with the review, Google loves it.
Yeah. Same as.
Enough said.
Enough said.
On to the next.
Yeah. I'm just having a look, actually. I have seen in there, they've got image count is in there. So you can see that it's referencing image count is a content factor.
Yeah.
So within content factors, there's image count, which is the amount of images that are shown. And I'm sure that there'd be weight in Google's algorithm to ensure that those images are yours and unique.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Page authority score.
Yeah.
Next.
So the authority of an individual page, again, so that ranking factor with the DR being that it is built over time with different signals. I believe that the age of the domain comes into a domain authority score. So I'd anticipate that the page authority score also has an age to it.
Yeah.
So the longer it's left, ultimately can improve. But the key for this is backlinks, is off page.
Yeah.
Which is, without going then through the rest of the list, the next 5-10 ranking signals lean on referring domains, referring backlinks, referring domains from different IP addresses, and we're talking now the page authority.
Yeah.
So outside of the top 2 or 3 ranking factors, which is your text relevancy, organic traffic to domain and URL, star rating of schema markup, which is your trust signal, the next batch of signals all leans on referring domains from different IP sources, backlinks, and backlink quantity.
Yeah.
And the weighting when you go through these, like we're talking number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the way through. Number 1 text relevancy is huge at 0.47.
Yeah.
Then you move into the traffic, and I think you're sitting around that 0.3 mark.
Yeah.
And then when you go into the URL and the domain traffic, you're both at around that 0.3 mark. Moving down from there, the next 10 are all sitting around 0.2.
Yeah.
So they're all very close.
Yeah.
And these all lean on off-page signals.
Yeah. Off-page is key.
Yeah. So it's still a huge part.
Yeah.
As much as I know that one of the Google head developers came out a couple of months back and said something like, backlinks aren't needed anymore, referring domains aren't needed.
What?
Yeah, I don't know. It was out there on LinkedIn and it got shared around. But yeah, the actual gist that links are still really important when we're talking that domain rating is affected by links. Page rating or page authority is affected by links.
Yeah.
Referring domains is links. Quantity of referring domains is links. Backlinks is links.
Yeah.
And links by different IPs is the diversity of links.
Yeah.
And they accumulate out of the top 10 ranking factors, top 20 ranking factors, there's about 50% of them. And then the others are the text relevancy, trust, and traffic.
Yeah.
So it's still a huge part as well.
Yeah. Definitely is.
You got anything to add to that?
Which brings me to just to sort of round it out to like the top 3 core pillars of SEO.
Yeah.
Is authority, relevance, and experience.
Yeah.
So authority being what you just mentioned, links.
Links.
You build credibility as a brand online in SEO through links, other people talking about you, your services.
Yep.
Relevance, which speaks to text relevancy, content.
100%.
The amount of content on your website that's relevant to your overall subject matter. And experience, so user experience, trust, star signals, the reviews.
Yep.
There's so many different frameworks in SEO and different ways of putting it together, but always comes back to those 3 core pillars.
100%.
Just to round it out, I think it's
a good way to round it out.
Those three areas.
Yep. Keep focus on that and do everything within the guidelines of those. You're going to do well.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode.